Alright guys, welcome back to the table. This is going to be a quick overview introduction to the next scenario that I have set up. This is from the Commands and Colors Napoleonics Generals, Marshals, and Tacticians expansion. I think this was either the last expansion released or the second to the last. I can't remember if Epic came out before this or not. But it's been a while since there has been a Commands and Colors Napoleonics release. However, we may see something I predict this year by way of the Grand Battles scenario expansion. More on that at another time, but suffice to say, the scenario that I've selected is from this expansion. Alright, if we can look at the scenario itself, Brienne, 29th of January, 1814. Take a look at the historical background. It states, as the Allies advanced into France, Napoleon planned to attack and defeat each in turn. Napoleon targeted Blucher's army of Silesia first for several reasons. Blucher's army was closest and needed to be defeated before it could link up with Schwarzenberg's larger army of Bohemia. Blucher was the most aggressive Allied commander. Putting him out of action by crippling his army could only benefit Napoleon. The Emperor's initial plan was to attack Blucher at Saint-Desire, but the weather warmed and the roads turned into mud, slowing his advance. This gave Blucher time to move to Brienne, where Napoleon had attended the military academy. Despite his setback, Napoleon decided on a frontal attack there, and Blucher could not refuse battle. His baggage train was still on the muddy road from Brienne, blocking his only route of retreat. The initial French attack by Grouchy's cavalry went well, but by the time Napoleon arrived with the infantry, the French cavalry had been turned back. During the rest of the day and into the night, both sides committed troops to the fight. Napoleon, who led his raw conscripts into battle, was almost captured, and Blucher was almost captured as well when sitting down to have dinner, thinking the battle was over. Both armies were exhausted around midnight. Blucher decided to pull his army back to join Schwarzenberg, and in the end, both sides would claim victory. As far as the battle notes go, if we take a look here, the Russian army is looking at 5 command cards and 5 tactician cards, while the French are staring at 6 command cards and 6 tactician cards. Now, the way I play this, that translates to 5 initiative chits in the cup for the Russians and 6 initiative chits in the cup for the French. First side to claim 9 victory banners is the winner, and then that brings us to the special rules. The French player gains a sudden death victory when a French unit occupies the chateau at the start of the turn, and the chateau is played as a walled farm. The 4 town hexes form a temporary majority group victory banner worth 2 temporary banners for the side that occupies an absolute majority at the start of its turn. As such, the Russians start with 2 victory banners. The River Elbe is impassable. French line infantry units are conscripts and do not receive 1 additional die in melee when attacking an enemy infantry unit. Now, the French in this system are typically pretty good at beating up on other infantry in melee, but as mentioned here, they're not going to get that +1 die benefit for doing so, as they are conscripts. The pre-battle Mother Russia roll is in effect, and the saber rolls have no effect. So I've done all that, and that's what we'll turn to next. So here we are with the table set up, and grab this. What are we looking at? Well, here's some things that will not factor into the game. The windmill's just for show here. Wheat fields just for show, and the majority of the table in this picture is outside of the playable area. So I've marked with red arrows the boundaries of the playable area as such. And additionally, because of the way I play this, we don't have the left, center, and right areas. It's all one area, as you'll notice. More on that later. But everything else is fairly straightforward. We've got the river, as mentioned, along here, which really only affects these 3 hexes, as the remainder of the river flows off the playable area. And then we have the walled chateau here, and the 4 town or city hexes here. So let's start with the pre-battle Mother Russia roll, which is what I've already done. We will notice some +1 paper strength markers here, here, and here. And then we benefited, that is to say, the Russians from a Cossack unit being placed here. So that was the extent of the pre-battle Mother Russia role. If you're unfamiliar with what that is or what that means, take a look at your Russian expansion rulebook, and it'll explain that in depth. Additionally, we have the woods hexes here, and this is clump foliage that I use for this. And it's kind of a drag to, well, nearly impossible to place units on top of this clump foliage. And it's really quite a drag to switch this out with an infantry unit, and then when they move off, switch it back. So what I've done is use numerical representation to note that a unit is in this hex. So as we see here, we see a numbered shit, which coincides with this numbered unit here off the playable area. These guys are actually hanging out here, and one for the French, at least at setup here, and then just below this picture is the number 10 French light infantry unit that is physically in the woods hex off map here. So there's that. And as far as the units themselves, we're looking at heavy cavalry here, horse artillery, light cavalry, and then the way I usually do this, any infantry unit with a banner or flag is usually a line unit. There are exceptions to that, but usually. That said, we have line, and line here. Again, light infantry unit represented here, actually in the woods. There's our Cossacks unit we got from the pre-battle Mother Russia roll. And then a light infantry unit here. Line, foot artillery, line, lone grenadier unit here. Some more horse artillery, a line in the walled chateau. Militia lancers, light infantry unit, and then 2 light cavalry units here. For the French, we're looking at line, young guard, and yet another 3rd young guard unit, so that will be fun. Foot artillery, line, light, and line, foot artillery, line, guard, horse artillery, lancers, some heavy cavalry, light cavalry, and finally another heavy cavalry unit. Now, as far as the leaders go, we'll get to those in a second, but you may notice a leader unit here with, it's actually a stand with 3 leaders, and a stand here with 3 leaders. Now those are a new addition to gameplay, and what I've actually have going here is what I refer to as a line of communications. Now you could use pretty much whatever you want to represent that. I've used these guys to do so. How this works is at the beginning of the game, each side places a line of communications on their respective baseline on any open hex. The line of communications, once placed, cannot move, and if an unshaken, unbroken enemy unit occupies a hex with a line of communications in it, each unit of the affected side will suffer a -1 activation penalty. Now you can move if you're friendly. You can move onto or through a line of communications hex, but again, those can't move. They're stuck there. So just another little added flavor feature, if you will. And then the leaders themselves, we're looking at, and I'm going to butcher these names, but if we go here, that's Laskoy. And then here is Karnilov, Odin right there, and Blucher in the walled chateau, and finally Poublen. For the French, we're looking at Richard, Dohasm. Again, I'm just ruining these names. Ney, I think I nailed that one. Victor, easy enough, and Grouchet himself, right there. So there's that, and then what I've been using is what I now call the Corsican Ogre rules, and this is the latest cover for, again, what I'm calling the Corsican Ogre rules. We've got the standard Commands and Colors logo there, and then I think this is Napoleon on when he was exiled on St. Helena, and then yeah, so that's what I'm using for that, and more about that. I've spoken briefly upon this past few videos, playthroughs. The rules are still being fine-tuned. I know I said I promised I would post these, and I will. I want to make sure I'm as close to being done as possible instead of reposting 15 different upgraded editions of the rules. So in order to prevent that, I want to continue to tighten the screws on this as much as possible. I'm very close, trust me. I know you guys don't believe me, but very, very close to these things being about as done as they can be. But this is the working cover for, again, what I'm calling the Corsican Ogre rules, which is what we'll be using, again, for this battle. Alright, here we are at the table proper. Let's run through a few opening rounds of Brienne and see where it takes us. We have, as mentioned, our 5 Russian chits and 6 French chits in here. Shake that up. See what we get. So our first chit is the French. And what do we like to do? I suppose, where's our... Let's see if this is on camera. Yes. Let's see if we can move this guy, these units here. Start heading them towards the town. Might be a long shot, but let's try and get there. So we need to activate, right? So we are not in the same hex, but adjacent. So if we can roll a 3 plus, we can do what we like. We roll a 7, so we're good to go. They are line infantry, so they're only going to move 1 hex. I'll put them right there and mark them as used so they can't activate again this round. Alright, draw another chit. Now it's the Russians. I'm not sure what they want to do next. It'd be a shame to let the French take that town unopposed, so if I can activate this unit here, right behind the woods, right here, and start hitting them that way, that might be a thing. So we are also adjacent to a leader, which is also going to be 3 plus. He also rolled a 7, so he will side saddle that direction, and we'll mark him used. So let's do that. Actually, he would have changed facing and moved this direction to do so. So let's represent that, eh? One more move and he's in the town. So it looks like the Russians should be able to take that town first. Another chit. French again. If I line these up here, you can see them without being in the way of anything. French is next. Let's move this unit here. Now the leader was not attached, or he could have moved with that unit. In order to move that leader, we'll have to spend a chit to do so. Like what I'm going to do though is try and activate him. That's also going to be a 3 plus. And he got it. So we'll move him up 1 here. Easy peasy. Like that. Draw another chit. What do we get? Back and forth. Russians. What do Russians want to do next? What about firing? Well, we have this line infantry unit within range of this artillery, but we also now have this French line unit that has moved up, has placed themselves within range of the Russian light infantry unit.
that is in the woods there. So let's try that. That is 2 hex range. Let me check that. Yep, 2 hexes. So that's going to be 4 plus. Easier said than done. No, another 7. So we're good there as well. Let's see, paper strength. Let's double check what that means here and come back. So what that means is they'll be able to roll +1, an extra die essentially, when they fire, which is now, they are currently firing with 5 dice, but with that +1 paper strength, that's going to bring it to 6 dice, which is pretty hefty volley heading in the French direction. And we get a number of things. We got a 6, which does us no good, a 3 and a 4, which does us no good, 3 5s, and our shaken die is nothing. Okay, so here's our 3 flags, essentially, is what we've received, and don't know that they can ignore any of those. So they'll have to pull back. Goodness sakes. 1, 2, all the way back to the baseline here. And they can't ignore any of these, so they got to pull the full 3 hexes, 1 for each flag. Also, for those that aren't familiar with how I do this commands and color stuff, I don't use the dice included in the game. I use regular dice. 1 is an infantry, 2 is an infantry, 3 is cavalry, 4 is artillery, 5 is a flag, and 6 is your sabers. So that's how we do that. Now, they were already marked as spent. Had they not been marked, they would now definitely be marked spent, because when you retreat, you are marked spent as a result. All right, another chip. French again, one after the other. I think I'm going to move the light infantry out of the woods here. And that's going to be a, adjacent is 3 plus, so 3 plus it is. Let's roll that. We failed. Can you even see what I'm doing here? Yes, you can. It's still on camera. Because we failed, they still get marked spent. I use these used counters from Old School Tactical. Essentially means the same thing. Just an easy way to represent what I'm saying. Spent, used, however you want to put it. Russians again. What if we move these guys up? These guys are right here. Put them here. That's going to be, they have the same hex leader, so that's going to be a 2 plus to do so. Easily done, and I'll put them right there. Leader is going to stay put, so he will detach to do so. He was attached to that unit, but as he wants to remain, he will detach, so he stays there. Another chip. Oh, Russian go again. There we go. And they don't have anybody within range of fire either. They could have done moving range fire. Let's move this unit up here, Russian unit here. That's going to be adjacent, so 3 plus. He gets it. Bump him right on up. Right here. Mark and used. Currently dealing with a face and shoulder sunburn deal. Nothing that requires medical attention, but I'm about as red as a beet. Stood outside all day with under no shade, not even a hat, no sunscreen, and just baked in the sun for the Irish parade. I'm not even Irish. Okay. Thought I was Irish. I took the DNA test and it told me I was like 1-2% Irish, and then they keep updating it as they get more information. And they pulled my Irish card. I'm no longer zero. I'm now 0% Irish, so that's funny. If you're curious about how I do this activation thing, it is same hex. You need a 2+. Jason hex 3+. This is a 10-sided die. If you're 2 hexes away, it's 4+. 3 hexes away, 6+. 4 hexes away, 7+. Did I mess that up? 5 hexes away, 9+, and 6 hexes away is a 10. And let's see what we got here. All right. Next, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it the Russians' turn next? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. I'll lose track easily. Alright, so what do we want to do for the fifth and final Russian turn? Let's move up the, what is it, the Grenadier unit there? No, the light infantry unit here. Is that on camera? Yes, this light infantry unit right here. Let's move them up. That's going to be... We'll need greater than a 2. And we get that. So they can move as much as 2 hexes since they're light. Yep, 2 hexes, so... If we put them... I don't want to move to. I'm going to move right here. The leader will move with, or will he? Nope, he will detach and stay right there. So that's done. That's the end of the Russians this round. Okay. The rest are going to be French. I don't know why I'm shaking this up. So there's your French shit there. And we go 1, 2, 3. Let's I tried to move that light infantry unit up, failed. Let's move this line infantry unit up. Can we see that? So we can move the camera here. We got cords that are being... Let me pause this and try and fix this. Well, let's see if that's any better. Who was I trying to move? I forget. Are these guys? So yeah, we can definitely see that now. Closest leader is 2 hexes. So we'll have to roll greater than. So there's 2 ways to do this. And in the rules that I have them written, we use a regular 10-sided die for this. 2+, 3+, 4+, based on your distance. You can also use, and I'm not sure how I got started on this. I guess this is where the entire idea came from. This weighted die from Conflicts of Heroes, and this. So there's your little chart there. So there's 2 ways you can do this, and I've been bouncing back and forth. I should probably use it the way I have in my rules. It's essentially the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. So let's see this here. That was 1, 2 hexes, so we need 4+. Let's just do it the way we're supposed to. And he failed. That's what I get for doing it the way I'm supposed to. Mark him as used. Who's next? French again. Let's put this guy, see on camera? Yeah, this guy right here. Let's move him up 1 hex there. That is going to be, should be no problem, just a 2+. And he's got that. Leader stays, so he'll detach. Now these guys will be able to conduct moving range fire at the opposing Russian line unit there. I think that's just going to be 2 dice plus, don't forget, plus our shaken die. We got nothing on that, so that was a bust. And then the final French chit of this round. Who's that going to go to? Is this guy on camera? I don't think so. Actually, let's go with this guy here and move him up 1x here. He will need 2 X's away. 3 plus. No, 4 plus. Let's see what he does. He got a 4, so he can move. And that'll be the end of our opening round. Put him right there. Boom, bada bing. All right. Chits back in the cup. We always use the same chits, whether a side has a unit eliminated or anything. It remains the same throughout the game. We'll pull our used, spent markers up. We didn't use any direct command action points. That is the little markers I have on the leaders. Each leader, if a unit is in direct command, that is to say adjacent or in the same hex to a leader or adjacent to a unit that is in direct command to a leader, can use that one little point to tweak a activation roll or a recovery roll or add 1 die in battle. Those get reset at the end of each round. So round 2, is that right? Everybody cleaned up? Let's start with round 2. Put this back over here. A little bit better overview there. Maybe right there. See what we can do. Round 2, we're starting with the French. Is that on camera? Nope. Let's put it right there. Alright, starting with the French, round 2. 2 X's away. There's a 4 plus. He rolled a 10, so he's got that. He moves 1 hex closer. I think the Russians, like I said, have it though, as all they have to move is 1 hex into it. But we're trying. And next shit. French again. Let's fire full strength here. That'll be adjacent hex. 3 plus. Rolls a 9, so he's fine. That's going to be 4 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to mark him as having fired. 4 dice and a shaken die. We get hits. So we got 2 hits. Our shaken dice is 6, so since that is not equal or less to our 2 hits, the unit is not shaken, but he does take the 2 hits. Alright. Next. French again. Now I did finally add a rule that if you pull each chit of your side, all of them consecutively, a fun thing gets to happen, as it should. So I did do that. So French again. I've kind of rendered the artillery here ineffective by being in the way, but not much we can do about that, I don't think. Did I try and move the light infantry here? Let's try this again. Are we on camera there? Let's try and move the light infantry that is in the woods here. Adjacent, so that's going to be 3 plus. Roll it up. Oh, 4, but he still got it. So now we can move them. 2 hexes and not fire, or 1 hex and fire. Well, let's move 1 hex and fire. Now the actions that we're taking may seem like multiple actions, but this is all a single action, just as it would be in the regular Commands and Colors game. So moving and then battling is considered one move. So I don't think we're going to have anything here, as that'll suck two dice out of here, and they only have two because they moved. But if we fire at the artillery, we could still fire with 2 dice, so we will do so. Looking for 4s or 5s. We did get a 4. Our shaken dice is 6, so that is not equal or less than our single hit. But we'll mark him accordingly. So half the French units have activated now. Russians go next. Let's fire with the line unit in the town here. They are 2 hexes away from the closest leader, so that's going to be a 4+ on our 10-sider. Nope, he failed. So guess what? They're not firing. Interesting. Mark him as used, draw a chit. And that ends, though, that Russian chit ended the potential consecutive run of French chits. French again. We got on this side. Let's pull the camera over a bit, shall we? We shall. Let's move these guys up here. Closest leader is over here. Either way, it's the same distance. So 2 hexes against 4+. And he failed. Rolled a 3, so he's done. Next. Russians. Let's see, are the Grenadiers on camera? Yes, let's try and move the Grenadiers up. How far do they move? Just 1. Well, let's try and move them up. That's going to be 1 there, 1, 2, so 4+ to activate, and they rolled a 4. So yes, they can activate. They'll move up 1 hex. Having played the last couple of scenarios without the hexes was actually intriguing. The units move differently. They end up in different positions than they would when you have the hexes keeping everything uniform. It's chaotic, but it works. It's cool. Russians again. What do we do this time? Let's move. Let's put the horse artillery up here, eh? Why don't we do that? That's going to be adjacent. There's a leader, and that's Blucher in the chateau. So adjacent would be 3+. Do they get it? They do. Well, they could move 2 if they wanted. I don't really see the point of that. So we'll just put them right here. Now, were we using the formation rules in Corsican Ogre, these guys will need to limber as 1 move, and then, let's consider that, okay? Limber, 1 move, and then 1 hex, 2 moves. Still works out. But they'll still be limbered, meaning they'll still need to unlimber, but because they can move 2, they can unlimber and then moving range fire. Hopefully that makes sense. Adhering to the formation rules. Okay, where's next? French, right back at it. Well, we just gotta do it. Let's move up. So let's move these guys 4+, 2x range. And he failed. Cool. That's great. Good job, guys. What did I say, these guys? And then 2 Russian chits and a French chit remain. Russians go. Probably shouldn't beat on the table like that. The microphone amplifies it. Did I forget about? I think I did. The light infantry in the woods here can now fire. This is going to be interesting because they haven't moved. Well, let's try and activate them first. 1, 2. Let's go ahead and use a direct command action point. They can do that because why? They are in direct command. How are they in direct command, you ask? Because unit here, adjacent to a unit that is stacked, if you will, with the leader, forming a kind of chain, can suck that 1 point off to better get that activation, which is going to be, instead of a 4+, it'll be a 3+, and he gets it. Let's mark him as used. And here's what happens. Now that is a Russian light infantry. He's going to throw 5 dice at the French, +1 for that paper strength. So 6 dice, and our shaken die. I have a feeling things are going to happen. He is firing this way. Let's do that. Here we go. Well, not as much as we thought or hoped would happen. 3 and a 4 and a 6 does us no good. We did get 1 hit. Our shaken die is not equal or less. So what do we get? 1 hit and 2 flags. Right there is what we're looking at. So we'll mark that 1 hit here. Now 1 flag we can ignore because we have support with the artillery and the leader here. The other flag we cannot, but that's okay because all that really allows is this unit to hang back with the leader for a round. He was already used, was he not? Yes. So we don't have to mark him used for retreating as he's already used. All right. What's left? So not as they didn't beat him up as bad as I thought they would, but the potential was there. Russians again, and they should be marked. They did. They got marked. Russians again. Let's pull these guys up here. Now that should be same hex leader there, so that's going to be a 2+. He gets it. Be hard to miss that same hex leader stuff. Do we want the leader to move? No, leader will stay right where he's at. Now we do have moving ranged fire here if we want it, and yes we do. 2 dice, shaken die. We get 2 5s. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Now we don't have support, so we cannot ignore any of those. That is light infantry. I can't ignore anything for being light. So if we go here, we then have support, so at that point we can stop retreating. We'll use our marker to represent being there. Right, a 10 and a 10, let's use a 10 here and here. He did take a hit, so I need to mark that as well. There's your hit. There's your hit. And I think that's it, eh? Okay. Final chit, French chit. I don't know if we even could capture that on camera. Moved here. Again, final chit, French chit. Let's try and move these French here up. We had a die try and escape off the table. And to do that, we were 2 X's away, so that's 4+. Yes. See if we get it. Now he cannot use the direct command action point because there's a gap here. The chain is broken. So that's why we can't use that. He failed. No, he passed. He rolled an 8. So he can move 1. And then that's the end of round 2. We'll do one more round and then I'll shut it down for today. I may actually do a brief overview of the most recent edition of the rules at the end of this. So stick around for that if you're interested. Again, I promise you guys, I promise, I'm very close to posting these rules. They're nearly there. A lot of the stuff that I'm changing or tweaking is just flavor stuff now at this point. And I shouldn't say a lot, there's just one or two things here and there. Okay. Did I forget, after all this, did I forget to move them in there? Is this what you're telling me? The Russians could have moved in there and I forgot? Have I completely lost my mind? Or did they fail in activation? Something funky's going on there. Well, depending on who gets the first chit means that's who gets the town, assuming they make their activation. Now here's a French chit. Do they pass their activation? They are a whole 1, 2, 3 hexes away. So they're going to have to roll a 6+. They cannot use a direct command action point. And they failed. So it looks like the Russians are going to get that after all. There's nobody else that can make it there. Nobody to really interrupt them. 1, 2, let's activate these guys here. Is 4+. And we got an 8. So good on them. Let's put them right here. So these guys can move that way potentially. So they're done. Next chit. Russians. Put these here actually so you can see them better. Old shits. Russians. Now can we move in there? Maybe. 1, 2 hex range. Let's... I think I forgot to reset his direct command action point, right? Yes. Okay, so we have the chain, right? It goes from here to here to here, so we can do this. That is 1, 2, so 4+ drops to 3+. And he did make it, so yes, the Russians now are sitting pretty in all the towns. Mark that there, put them here. And we'll go ahead and adjust facing, which we can do for free at the beginning or end of a move. If you just want to hang in a hex and change facing, it will cost you a move. So there they are. The Russians successfully control the towns here. What's next? Russians again. What do we want to do this time? I'm hesitant to move further past this kind of line of demarcation here. I don't know that I see the point of that. The French will move up and do the work for me as the Russians. So let's continue to push the stuff that's back up as much as we can. So for instance, the Grenadiers here, let's move them up one more. To do that, we are adjacent, so we'll need a 3+. And we got that, so let's move them up. Right about here-ish. That's our celebrated Russian Grenadiers, who look just like every other infantry unit on the table. Alright, who's next? French again. Maybe we should start moving Young Guard up, not sure. Let's move these guys up. That's an easy, at least I say it is, 3+. Surely we can do that. Yep. So let's move him up. Kind of jockeying for position, if you will. There's that. Nose chip. Russians again. Let's start moving the horse artillery over here, forward. That would be this unit here. We will move only 1 hex if we get this, and that is adjacent, so 3+. Could use a command action point if we want, but I think we got this, and we do. Rolling a 10, so he will limber and move up 1. Let's put him right about here. If he was already limbered, he could move 2. But I'm saying he wasn't. Trying to be as fair as possible. So there's that. Otherwise, yes, he could move 2. Is that something we're on camera or off camera? Yeah, we got that over there. All right. What else do we have? Another French shit. Let's move these down. What do we want to do this time? Let's fire with the artillery. I think that's what we want to do. This unit's half strength. Maybe we can knock the other half out. Adjacent to our leader. So that's a 3+. Goes a 5. He's got it. And we're at a 1, 2, 3 hex range. Foot artillery, full strength, is 2 dice. I'll take it. Better than no dice. 1 hit. So down to 3 he goes. There's another French chit there. Why don't we, while the young guard's kind of like light infantry, they can move 2 in that battle. So why don't we try and get one of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Why is this like this? Did I forget that? 1, 2, 3 should only be 4, and then the 5th one we just drew. Another reason to mark things. Yep, okay, so let's try and move them up. That is going to be easier said than done. 1, 2, 3 hex range. 6+. And it's a cock die, but it went to a 4, so they failed. Next chit. Russians. Big surprise. Who have been hanging back, as mentioned. They can afford to do so. I think I'm going to pull these guys back out of range rather than just giving an easy victory banner. So that's going to be adjacent, 3+. He's got that. Let's pull him back out of range there. Let's put him right here. Otherwise, it's just a simple 1 hit and then the French victory banner. Why make it easy for them? So there's that. As they are 4 strength, are they not? Yes. 1 French and 1 Russian shit, and then we'll conclude this installment's festivities. Russians again. I've already said I want to hang back, but how much do I want to hang? What if we unlimber the French or the Russian horse artillery here and then fire? That's a 1, 2 hex range from our nearest leader. 2x range, we'll need a 4 plus. And we failed. So they are spent. Pass or fail, you're spent either way. And if you retreat, you're spent. To reiterate, final chit, French chit. Let's start moving up. Let's move up one of these guys. Let's go with this one. 2x range is 4 plus. Could have used a decap, opted not to. So he'll just move up 1. Let's put him right here. I'll leave this open for the light infantry to eventually move out. I probably should have moved them actually. But because they move, they can do moving range fire at the foot artillery there. Wouldn't be able to fire at either town because that's going to absorb two dice, and that's all we have left after moving. What do we get? We get nothing. Cool. 6 and 2, so nothing there. All right, that's the end of that round. Clean it up. Chits go back in the cup. And pull these guys off. That's the first, 3 opening rounds of Brienne. This guy here, and here. There we go. No victory banners yet. Russians continue to hold the majority of town hexes, so nothing changes there. And I said I might go over the rules here. I did add an introduction, and that's simply stated says, we go right here, that the Corsican Ogre rules are, just so people are aware, not affiliated with GMT or Richard Borg. They have nothing to do with this. A basic familiarity with the commands and colors Napoleonic system is required to understand and implement any of the following rules. And for those of you that don't know and are considering this, the core commands and colors Napoleonics rules and scenario book can be accessed for free from the GMT website. Very cool. However, I do highly encourage you to purchase a copy of the game if you've not already done so. The CCN system is a fast and affordable way to get into the Napoleonics genre. The blocks are great for those who have neither the time, money, nor patience to purchase and paint hundreds of miniatures. The included map board also serves as a functional alternative to the massive terrain-infested tabletops that can cost a pretty penny and take up a ton of space. I also add that the commandsandcolors.net, if you don't know about that, check it out, offers tons of additional official and unofficial Commands and Colors Napoleonics scenarios. What else? So just a quick rundown of where I'm at with these rules. We've got the setup, what you need to do, what you need to play. The conventional dice method that I use, using normal 6-sided dice, not the oversized, awful sticker-infested dice that come with the game. Describe what a round is. We go over the initiative chits and how that works. And then all about activation, what it entails, the roles you need to do so. That's page 1. Page 2 is bonus activation. And that's when I was referring to when all the chits of the same color are drawn consecutively. The final chit can be used to activate any unit, even if already marked as spent, without rolling to do so. So it's a free activation. And but you do still need to be within 6 hexes of a friendly leader. Then you have your direct command action points, which I touched on briefly this time. We've got our facing. Each unit faces, if you'll notice, a hex vertex. And they will need to do so throughout the game to attack and move. You're going to move forward in the direction you're facing. Straightforward enough. Artillery ammunition I usually use, but lately I've been forgetting to use. What else? And that's just basically each artillery unit has 5 rounds of ammo. Once you use that up, you only will fire at an adjacent unit with 1 die. go over forming square and how that works. It's tweaked a little bit because it's an action that you're not drawing a chit for. It is a reactive action that takes place during the opposing player's turn. Similarly with cavalry, retire and reform. I'll touch on that. Flags and leader retreat. Let's see, units that retreat as a result of flag rolls or leaders who retreat after a unit has been eliminated are marked as spent, as I already mentioned. Taking ground / cavalry breakthrough bonus attack. Just brief tweak on how that works with this system. Combined arms, same deal. Brief explanation on how that works with this system. And then our shaken / broken status for units, which incorporates the shaken die. If you noticed, you roll a die of a different color with your attack dice. And if that die is equal or less than the number of hits, the unit is shaken. Now flags don't count for hits in this respect, so it have to be just straight up hardcore hits. And then that can determine if the unit is shaken. If the unit is shaken again, it breaks and routes, cover that. And then your recover, essentially rally, how to do so. And then your recovery die roll modifiers. And then the thing I've always liked, and this is straight from ASL, Advanced Squad Leader, is when you recover, if you roll a 2, something happens. Well, in this case, 1 block is returned to the unit if currently under strength. If a natural 12 is rolled, the opposite happens. 1 block is removed from the unit. Kind of an odd rule, but I feel like it should be in here, is a reduced unit. This refers to infantry that have just 1 block left. They cannot attack in melee. Neither can they voluntarily move adjacent to an enemy unit's front facing, or move in such a way as that an enemy unit ends up adjacent to its front facing. Our leader casualty checks are a bit different, since if we have to remove a leader from the game, that can present severe problems, as we heavily rely on these leaders for our activation checks. Whereas in the base game, that they don't seem quite as necessary, if you will. So instead of removing the leader, you suffer, the leader becomes wounded, and any activation rolls that are drawn from that leader suffer a -1 die roll modifier, and this is for each time that leader is wounded. Then there's a brief formation explanation regarding infantry as far as column or line, and what that means as far as moving, firing, and melee. It has different effects. So for instance, saber hits do not apply to units in line that attack in melee. And infantry units must be in column to move. Infantry in line that retreat are shaken afterwards. And a unit in column uses moving ranged fire, whether it moved that round or not. So there's those to consider. Already talked about line of communications. And then some expansion specific mechanics. Basically, I just explained that the Iron Will pre-battle Mother Russia roll are used as normally in the game system. And the Battalion Mass and Austrian expansion is treated as a regular square. So then a brief mention of miniatures that you could use on the tabletop without hexes, and I give the range of infantry, the unit sizes, and the move and range increments based on that size. So for instance, 6 to 15 millimeter, I recommend 4-inch move range increments, and 28 millimeter, I recommend 6-inch move and range increments. So that is the rules as such, 3 pages. Now, for those that are interested in using these, you can use as many or as few or none of these rules as you wish. You know, I entertain the idea that a number of folks play the system and enjoy it, but maybe want something a little bit more like me. And again, I have played this system since its release, so I have enough experience with it, and I feel like I am knowledgeable enough to be able to do this. Now, I've said this in the past on a few sites when I posted variations to the rules to this system. don't misunderstand me. I'm not implying that this game, Commands and Colors Napoleonics, as it stands, is flawed or broken or needs improvement. It's not what I'm trying to do here. I am simply somebody who likes to fiddle with things, tweak things, adjust things. It's just how I am, and this rules culmination is really a years long process of different formats and variations, trying a number of things, and I truly feel that I've finally reached the end of the road here. That is to say, come up with something that it feels right. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel artificial. What have you? It seems to work, and I obviously enjoy using these rules, or I wouldn't use them. So that's enough blabber. Leave comments, suggestions, questions, please. I will post these, and I dearly hope, for those of you that do play the system or don't, you could still use the activation system, a number of things in these rules, in any Napoleonic rule set. Let me know what you guys think. So stay tuned for these rules, and thanks for watching.